Hi, this is Margo. This is Sunday afternoon, May the 17th, 2020. I hope everyone is doing as well as possible. And I'm going to do the weekly methane update. This will be posted on YouTube. And we've got NOAA data for the week, and we're showing methane data on cams from today. And then we'll go through our usual daily updates that I do for my subscribers on Subscribestar. And I've got an article I'm going to present, and we'll look at some earthquakes. So let's get going. First of all, we've got some pictures from Climate Reanalyzer from today. This is a 2-meter temperature anomaly. This is in the Arctic. We're seeing it's mainly brown with shades of red all the way across the Arctic. We also have this area in northern Russia and Siberia that's brown, and it's got a reddish tinge to it here, meaning it's warmer than normal. And this blue area is breaking up in North America, turning brown now. And the Scandinavian countries are in the blue, meaning cooler than normal. That light blue is about 5 degrees cooler than normal. The dark blue is about 10 degrees cooler than normal. And that goes all the way across Europe, the UK, and through western Russia as well, and northern Africa. So overall, worldwide, we're up 0.5 C higher than normal. The northern hemisphere is up 0.9 C. The Arctic is 3.3 C higher than normal. The tropics are up 0.5 C. The southern hemisphere is in balance at 0. And the Antarctic is below normal by 2.3 C. Here's the flat view of the globe. So here's this area in Russia that's got the reddish tinge to it. That's about, it's this color down here, about 15 degrees warmer than normal there. So, and here in the Antarctic, we've got red down here by the Pine Island Glacier, and also on this Weddell ice shelf, near the Weddell Sea. Here's the, and then we've got purple right there and down here near the Ross Sea. Here's the precipitation map from today. The green is rain and the blue is snow. Here's this huge front coming across the United States. It was at Texas yesterday, and now it's moving eastward. We also have this storm system off the coast of Florida forming that's heading up this east coast. Here's the flat view. It's been raining up here in northern Russia. Let's zoom in a little bit here. We can see rain here at the Yamal Peninsula. There's some green. It's also snowing up there. But wherever you see rain, that's where it's warmer, and there's a lot of permafrost there, which holds stored up methane. And so with the rain, that will be melting the permafrost faster and be releasing methane that much faster. Also over here in Siberia, same thing. We also have a big system off the coast of India. Sri Lanka is the island down here that I couldn't remember last night. Just now remembered that. Here's the sea level pressure for today. This is a high pressure system over the Arctic that's pushing the cold air out and making the jet stream wonky. We have a low here in the North Atlantic off the southern tip of Greenland, another low up here in western Russia, and another low here in the Pacific. And here's the flat view. There's a low right here. This is that storm system approaching India. This is the Indian Ocean that's in there. Look at this low right here. We're also seeing some sulfur dioxide come up there. You'll see. Here's the jet stream for today. So here it is in that donut circle where the high is over the Chukchi Sea and the East Siberian Arctic shelf. And then we can see it's wavy all the way around this northern hemisphere. Here's the flat view, and it's also separated out. It's dipping very low across Mexico and then across northern Africa and India. And then this one is like a ribbon, a snake going across, and then we've got this weird round donut thing. And then in the southern hemisphere we've got about three splits. We've got this one down here over the Antarctic, and then 2 or 3. They keep splitting out down here. So it's all abnormal. There's nothing normal about any of this anymore. Here's the sea ice and snow cover from today. I need to do a sea ice update. Hopefully I'll be able to do one this week for you and put that up. But the ice is starting to melt. Let me zoom in on this. See what we can see. Here, this is Svalbard. Here's Franz Josef Land. We can see it's melted around there. It never really came back on this western coast of Novaya Zemlya, but it's also melted up here in this little pocket north of Novaya Zemlya. It's melted around the edges of the coast. It's also already melted around Severnaya Zemlya. We can't really see it that well in this view. The Bering Strait is almost completely melted now. There are just chunks of ice there, and it's melting along the coast of Alaska already. It's an early melt, and also the wind is blowing it. So, and with that high pressure, I don't know what that's doing to the sea ice right now. Here's the flat view, and we can see the sea ice coming back around the Antarctic here. And of course it's dark down there now, and it's supposed to be coming back. It's going into their winter time as we'd head into summertime in the northern hemisphere. Here's the sea surface temperature anomaly. Now they don't update this consistently. I don't know why, but the latest data on Climate Reanalyzer is from Friday, May 15th. So the browns are, so white is normal, zero anomaly. When you get into the blues and the purples, that's colder than normal. When you go into the browns and reds, that's warmer than normal. So we can see reds here off the east coast of North America. That's been like that for a long time. And we've got brown coming across the Atlantic, and here in the North Atlantic, and here where the Arctic, where the North Atlantic is entering the Arctic, it's warmer than normal. And then on this western coast of North America, it's all brown. A big hot area here in the Gulf of Alaska. So overall, worldwide, it's up 0.4 C higher than normal. The northern hemisphere is up 0.6 C. The North Atlantic is up 0.4 C. The equatorial Pacific is up 0.4 C. The southern hemisphere is up 0.3 C. And the North Pacific is up 0.6 C higher than normal. And look at the Mediterranean, it's very warm. And then we have hot spots around the globe, around the southern part of South America, the southern tip of Africa, and here west of Australia in the Indian Ocean here. And it's all hot down here in the Arabian Sea, the Indian Ocean. And then a lot of the Pacific is hot as well. We have a hot spot that we had last summer down here in the southern Pacific. We'll see if that's going to come back. So with the sea surface temperature warmer like this, it creates a lot more carbon dioxide in the ocean. And the oceans are full. They can't absorb any more carbon dioxide. And so the animal life, the marine life is dying, and it's a whole thing. It's an acidification of the oceans, and it's the death of the planet, the death of Mother Earth. It's also reddish over here around Japan. Fukushima is still dumping radioactive water in the ocean. It's red up here in the Pacific and around the coastlines of China and Korea, it looks like. Here's the NOAA methane data from yesterday, Saturday the 16th, for the 477/469 millibar reading. The Met-1 satellite in the morning, the mean or average was 1,887 parts per billion. The range was 1399 to 2458 parts per billion. And this pink area down here is a range between 2000 to whatever the high number is here. Like on this one, it's 2458. So wherever you see the pink, that bright pink, that's that high range of methane. And we even are seeing pink down here over the Antarctic. In the afternoon, the mean is 1888, and the range is between 1476 to 2504. On the Met-2 satellite in the morning, the mean was 1867, and the range was 1447 to 2293. And in the afternoon, the mean was 1866, and the range was 1457 to 2341. Now here's the spreadsheet and chart that we're working on. So here it is for the 16th. So I added up all those numbers and divided them by 4. And we come up with an average of 1,877 parts per billion, which is an increase from the week before of 1.75 parts per billion. Now this is the first time we've seen an increase since April April the 4th, we saw an increase that week of 1 part per billion. And then it went down for the rest of April, and then the first part of May it was still going down, and last week there was no change, it was zeroed out. So here's where we had our decrease, and now it looks like it's headed back up. So the change, so I've been tracking this since I started tracking this in March of 2019, and the change from March the 1st to May the 16th, March the 1st of 2019 to May the 16th of 2020 has been 19.75 parts per billion of an increase. And since March the 1st or February 29th of this year to yesterday, there's been an overall increase of 0.5, because we had, it went up, and then it went down. So, but here's where we started. You can see on the graph that we never went back down to where we started in the winter, and then it started zooming up in January, which is abnormally early for it to start going up. And I've recently started tracking this on a daily basis, and I show the daily increase on my I try to do daily shows for my Subscribe Star members. That's what they get for their $5 a month. And so here's where we were each day. And so here it was last Saturday, and then we went down another day, and then it went up a couple of days, and then no change on the 13th, and then it went up 0.75 on the 14th, then it went down 1 part per billion on the 15th, and then it went back up half a part per billion on the 16th. So we have an overall increase from last Saturday of 1.75 parts per billion. But in the last 14 weeks, we've shown an increase of 13.75. Because it started going up. This is actually where it really started going up, February the 8th. So that's how much it's gone up since February the 8th, 13.75, which is a huge increase. And it's too early in the year for it to be doing that, typically. But nothing's typical anymore, and we're in no man's land. So I'm just reporting the data as I see it. Here's sulfur dioxide from today. This is from CAMS. This is the global view and total column. We can see that those big red clouds have dispersed, and nobody else has addressed the big red clouds that I saw. No climate scientists. And I would really like for someone like Sam Carana to address what I saw during March and April of all those red clouds of sulfur dioxide that obviously were not from earthquakes or tectonic plate movement, because we've got just as many or more earthquakes now than we had back then, and we're not seeing the sulfur dioxide like that. Here it is at 500 HPA, and the biggest activity is down here at Popocatépetl volcano. We can see that. Here's the East Tropic view. We can see a lot over China, India, Saudi Arabia, and so on. Here it is at 500 HPA where it's gathered up in the atmosphere at that level. Here's the Pacific view. There's new releases down here in southern Alaska where they have so many earthquakes and volcanic activity as well. And here it is at 500 HPA. There's a hot spot down here in the South Pacific, and that's we see earthquakes down here. This is where that tectonic plate comes up. Here's the North Pole view. Here it is at 500 HPA. Here's the South Pole view. Now down here near Ross Island we can see green sulfur dioxide. That's a release from Mount Erebus. It's an active volcano down there, slowly releasing pretty much all the time. Here's this hot spot in the South Pacific. Here's New Zealand. It's always releasing from that northern island. Here it is at 500 HPA. So here's that hot spot in the South Pacific. So it's not releasing a lot, but it's consistent. And I'm tracking the earthquakes in Southern California at the Ridgecrest Searles Valley area since the 7.5 earthquake last July has never stopped. And this morning there were 42 here today out of 553 worldwide. And it went down this week down to I think 10 one day before the Tonopah earthquake, and that got everything started back up. So here's the Nevada earthquakes this morning. The Tonopah earthquake, the 6.5, happened right in the middle of all this swarm here. There were 338 this morning when I took this picture out of 553 worldwide. So we can see the movement is moving east to west here, and it's activated down here at Goldfield as well. And then I took this picture later on this morning because it was like everything was coming in all at once. It looks like Christmas tree lights. These red earthquakes, they were all at once, and they were good size. This size dots are 4 in the 4 range, and these bigger dots are in the 5 range. And those are all of my pictures for you for today. Now we'll run the methane movie for cams. I have for Sunday the 17th ready for the Arctic view and surface level pulled up. Here's the color ledger, and this dark reddish brown, brick red brown, this range is between 2160 to 10,000 parts per billion. And when you get into the bright red, that's 2100 parts per billion. And when the green, like this light green, is 2000 parts per billion, then it goes down. So this is where it left off yesterday. We have been seeing this high release around Severna Zemlya in the Kara Sea, and there was a new release popping up here, a separate one and it was pulsating back and forth. Now, Peter Minton left a very good comment under my video from last week about Novaya Zemlya being a nuclear test site and Tsar Bomba being exploded there, and how much did I think this attributed to global warming and climate change and this and that. And it was a very good comment and observation, and I thank you, Peter, for the comment. And I responded, and I did a video exactly about that. I researched that whole topic back in June of 2018 and did a video called Novaya Zemlya, the Smoking Gun for Rapid Arctic Warming? ? And so I responded to his comment with the link. It's on my YouTube channel, and so I encourage everybody that if you haven't seen that video, it's some of my best research, and he was exactly right. And this Novaya Zemlya is basically used during the Cold War by Russia for top secret nuclear testing. They had underground testing on this North Island, and their big base is down here on the southern island, and there are sunken submarines, and they did testing underwater and over the land and all over the place. And the Kara Sea is the most radioactive sea in the whole world. And I also showed all the nuclear reactors around the world. At that point there were 637 active and inactive that have to be continuously cooled by water and babysat. Even the inactive ones have to be continuously watched. And so they built more since then, and it's a whole thing. And the radiation tears up the ozone layer, and the production of nuclear energy actually tears up the ozone layer. It prevents the Earth from creating ozone. The plutonium, the krypton, goes up in the atmosphere and interferes with the water with the oxygen interacting with the sunlight, creating the ozone, interferes with that whole process. So it's all diabolical. It's a demonic plan by the dark mind, and it seems like at every crossroads where we had to make a choice about what was going to be for our best or to our detriment, the ones that were in power were influenced by the dark mind or Satan to make the poor choice, to make the wrong choice, and we're now suffering the effects of that. So I encourage you to watch that video. It's one of my best ones, and it was really good research. And I don't talk about all that much anymore, but if we have sunken nuclear submarines, and there are nuclear reactor rods that they dumped down in here in the Kara Sea, eventually those are going to eat through the sediment and release, melt the methane. The methane is going to start coming up. So maybe that's what's happening here, because this has been coming up since January here, and before January it was coming up over here, and then it moved up here for whatever reason. But yeah, I think all of that played a part. But Russia wasn't the only one doing nuclear testing. I mean, the United States and all of the big countries, France and Britain, and everybody's done it. Everybody's done it. It's all over the world, and it's a crime. It's a crime against Mother Earth, and those of us who love Mother Earth and love nature, it just breaks our heart to see this happen. So we're seeing high releases here in southern Alaska now, and it's still coming up periodically on this north coast of Alaska near Koktovik. But see, it's not stopping here in this Kara Sea. It's just still popping up, and we're seeing it come back on Sweden and Finland and Norway and Russia here, and it's coming back just all the way across. There's a hot spot here off the coast of Nova Scotia here in the Atlantic. We're also seeing it increasing here in the Bering Sea. So now, we're just watching it increase, and just, I'm basically just counting the days till something happens, whether we have the 50 gigaton methane bomb go off, or whether we have so much accumulated methane in the atmosphere from these high releases all over the place that, we just burn up. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. But it's not good. Whatever it is, it's not good. And then we'll start having a bunch of nuclear meltdowns, and when we don't have the water to cool them down. And last summer and the summer before last, I was showing articles about different places having to shut down nuclear reactors because the water was too hot to cool them down. And it's going to be hotter this year, and these people who say we're going into a solar minimum and global cooling, I don't really see that. I don't see that. So the Persian Gulf has filled back up, and now that the world is basically opening back up for business, I believe we're going to start seeing more and more sulfur dioxide and methane being produced, and we are seeing it filling back up in India and coming back in China, and see the waves moving out across the Pacific, and here it is very high on the east coast of North America, and Texas is in a world of hurt. Look at how it's filling up. Watch this right here. See, on the Gulf Coast of Texas and Louisiana there, and then down the Ohio Valley, Mississippi River. It's not looking good. And nuclear is not a solution. I'm sorry, it's just not. And anyone who tries to tell you that it is, they're full of it. There are so many problems with nuclear. And now that it's dark down here, now we're seeing methane come up from the Antarctic on this western peninsula and over here on the coast east of the Weddell Sea. See the light blue there and here? That's methane release. And it's all dark down there. Here's more over here on this coastline where my pointer is. You can watch it as it cycles through where my pointer is. There. So now let's look at 500 HPA. So here it is. This is about halfway up in the atmosphere, about 18,000 feet. You can see very dark areas from, well, if I played the movie, you would see this cloud moving across. But the green is moving further south, and the red is moving further south as well, spreading out. And now total column, we can see it, this big red area moving across the Pacific, and just the red-orange. And then here's China and Japan and India and so on. So there's that. Now the next thing I want to show real quick is get a sip of my tea. On my website, margoshealingcorner.com, I archive my Subscribe Star posts so that I have them and so that people can refer to them. So if you don't choose to join us on Subscribe Star, or you can't afford it, that's okay. I totally understand. But I archive all my posts over here, and you can see them. And I've got April all archived, and so you can go through and see some days I did 2 or 3 videos because cams got behind, and I did some videos catching up on methane and so on. But here are my interviews with Guy McPherson. Posted those for people. But also, like, here's these big red clouds, the sulfur dioxide, just so you remember what it looked like back on April the 4th. That's what it was looking like. And here on April the 6th, the Arctic was up 4.3 C higher than normal. And I just post these things as I see them. Like, here's a big sulfur dioxide release off the coast of Madagascar, and thinking that was tectonic plate movement. And I usually, when I post something like this, then I talk about it in my daily video from that day. Here's the ozone hole that we saw over the North Pole in April. I talked about that. I did a whole show on polar vortices, ozone and methane. Did some research on polar vortices. But I wanted to show down here. Here's more sulfur dioxide. So there are a lot of posts here, and it's a good way to see if you want to refer to something or you want to see what methane was looking like for a certain day. It's all right here. And I started my Subscribe Star channel in April of last year, and I have all my posts archived. So it's just a huge resource. Here's what methane looked like on the 17th. Look at that. This is total column. It was awful. Look at that. That's very bad. Lots of red from China. So April was hot. It was a hot month, meaning much warmer than normal. Here, the Arctic was 4.4 C higher than normal on the 19th. There's the picture. And then it kept going up. On the 20th, it was 5 C higher than normal. And then on the 21st, it was 5.2 C higher than normal. And I'm showing this because the article I'm going to present today is from Sam Carana. It's Sam's latest blog post. And it's talking about April being a very warm month. So it goes right along with what I showed. So now this is arcticnews.blogspot.com. This is Sam Carana's blog. This is from Friday, May the 15th. April 2020, temperatures very high. So we're just going to go through this article. Temperatures in April 2020 were very high. The image below shows very high temperature anomalies over the Arctic. And I just showed you that as well. But we can see the dark red, and that's between 4 to 9.4 degrees. I guess that's higher than normal. 4 to 9.4 degrees higher than normal. I guess that's Celsius. He doesn't say. The image below shows that the April ocean temperature anomaly in the Gulf of Mexico in 2020 was 1.7 C or 3.08 degrees Fahrenheit higher than the 1910 to 2000 average and the highest on record. Here it is, up here. This is the Gulf of Mexico. The temperatures in the Gulf of Mexico were already very high in March 2020, as illustrated by the image on the right from an earlier post. See, and here it's red. Here, we can look at that. This is the Gulf of Mexico. Now remember the BP oil disaster? Can't remember when that was. It was quite a while back. They never really got that stopped. And that basically killed the Gulf Stream to where it's not moving the way it should be. And so it's still heating up everything there. It's all polluted. The Gulf Stream carries even hotter water along the path of the Gulf Stream toward the Arctic Ocean, thus speeding up the temperature rise of the Arctic Ocean. Right. As the Gulf Stream slows down due to increased meltwater, more heat is accumulating along the path toward the Arctic Ocean, threatening to invade the Arctic Ocean in abrupt strong bursts powered by stronger winds over the North Atlantic, as discussed in earlier posts such as this one. But he doesn't talk about the BP oil disaster in the Corexit that they sprayed, and the oil that's still like in the Gulf, and that totally messed everything up and made it hot too. So I wish he would address that. Anyway, there's also the danger that a freshwater lid is extending at the surface of the North Atlantic that threatens to cause more ocean heat to move underneath the sea surface toward the Arctic Ocean, as discussed in earlier posts. As the image below shows, the April ocean temperature anomaly on the northern hemisphere in 2020 was 0.97 C or 1.75 Fahrenheit, higher than the 20th century average and the highest on record. So there it is. See, and it's a lot. It's not just a little bit. It just zips right up there. Arctic sea ice is getting very thin, and at this time of year it is melting rapidly from below due to rising temperature of the Arctic Ocean. So here's Arctic sea ice volume May 15th, and here's the dark line. That's this year, and it's at the bottom. It's below all the others. Arctic sea ice volume has been at record low since the start of 2020, as illustrated by the image on the right. An earlier analysis indicates that there is a tipping point at 1 degree C at which the sea ice underneath the surface of the Arctic Ocean disappears, which means that there will be little or no buffer left to consume the influx of even warmer and salty water from the Atlantic Ocean and Pacific Ocean. As long as there is sea ice on the water, this sea ice will keep absorbing heat as it melts, so the temperature will not rise at the surface. But there is ever less sea ice volume left to absorb ocean heat, and the amount of energy absorbed by melting ice is as much as it takes to heat an equivalent mass of water from 0 to 80 degrees Celsius. And this is the chart he uses to show that. Meanwhile, global heating continues, and more than 90% of global heating is going into the oceans. As the temperature of the oceans keeps rising, more heat will reach sediments at the seafloor of the Arctic Ocean that contain vast amounts of methane, as discussed on this page and this post for links there. The danger is that this heat will destabilize the ice and the hydrates, resulting in huge releases of methane. And then he shows links to the research. So that goes right along with what we're seeing, and that's from Sam Carana from the 15th. So it's exactly what we're seeing, and it's not stopping. It's not going back, and it's not stopping. Now we're going to look at the earthquakes for today. Right now we're showing 545 earthquakes worldwide for all magnitude. Let's see how many are 2.5 magnitude and higher. 117. So we'll click back. So I'm going to start down here in the South Pacific. Here's a 5.4 south of Fiji Islands. This came in at 12:07 this afternoon. Very deep, 485 kilometers deep. And a 5.0 near Naifu, Tonga, 127 kilometers deep. Next is a 4.5 near Mauricio Village, Guam. The next one is off the southern coast of Japan, 4.5 near Anan, Japan, in the ocean there. Here's one off the coast of Kamchatka, Russia, 4.5. It's right along this tectonic plate line. This is the Pacific plate coming up here to the North American plate. Next, we've got one on land, 4.7 near Methane, Burma, and 4.6 near Zalmog, China. It's on the Tibetan Plateau. That's all of them on that west side. Now let's look at Hawaii. We've got 13 here today. 2s and 1s. 2.7 looks like it's that biggest one. Mainly down here at Pahala. There's one here in the ocean to the west, a 2.7. To the west, 75 kilometers west-southwest of Kailua Kona, Hawaii. Here's one at Mauna Loa, 1.9. And 1.8 at Kilauea. Now in South America, 4.6 near Barranca, Peru. Here's a 4.3 off the coast of Guatemala near Puerto San Jose. Here's one off the coast of Cuba, 4.6 near El Cobre, Cuba, right on this red line, the Caribbean plate. At Puerto Rico, there are 3 today, 3.2, 3.2, and 3.1. And here's a little one, 3.2 near Roadtown, British Virgin Islands. Now let's zip up to Alaska. We're showing 72 here today. Now of those, 2.5 magnitude or higher are 10 that are 2.5 magnitude or higher. So let's look at those. Here's a 4.0 near Atka. These are in the Aleutian Islands. Here's 4 all together here. 4.8, 3.7, 3.8, and a 3.8. These are at Nikolsky. That's getting up there. Here's a 4.1 near Larsen Bay. Here's a 3.3 Whittier. 2.5 at Willow, that's near Anchorage. 2.5 Talkeetna, and a 2.5 Cantwell. So we can see these are getting bigger now. And let's turn all magnitudes back on. And we're seeing the little ones filling in around the big ones here and coming up through the state. How many are Anchorage? I always like to look at that. 15. in this anchorage area. Here's one right in the Bering Strait, a 1.5 near Little Diomede Island. That's shallow, 0.6 kilometers deep. Here's a 2.1 near Nome. 1.9 near Holy Cross. There's a couple at Koktovik. Here's some at Kobuk. That's a big mining area. Now let's zoom on down to the lower 48 and see what we've got. Tackle this. 447. All right here out of 545. So less than 100 earthquakes are, so the majority are here. Less than 100 are outside of the lower 48. Here in Oklahoma we've got 4. This 3.5 at Lindsay is the biggest one. And then we've got Medford. We've got the rest of them up at Medford in the high ones range. Utah's clear. Here's Idaho and Montana. This is the whole Yellowstone area here. 14. We've got one up here at Three Forks, so 1.4, and the rest of them are down here at Cascade and Chalice. Let's see what the biggest one is. 3.3 at Chalice. So we've got 3s and 2s mainly. 3s and 2s. Yep. That's what we've got there. And then we've got 3, it looks like up here in Seattle, in Washington. Yep. 0.7 near Eatonville, that's Mount Rainier. 0.7 near Morton, that's Mount St. Helens. And a 1.4 near Falls City, just east of Seattle. Coming on down, zoom out a little. So here's the Tonopah swarming. Here's the Searles Valley Ridgecrest. Here's Southern California with the LA, San Diego region. Here's the San Andreas fault line, and here's the geysers. So 427. So this is where the majority of all the earthquakes in the world are. This is the hot spot. All the activity. This one just came in at 2.5 near Joshua Tree, California. So let's go down here. Start here. This whole Tonopah area, 310, and look how they filled in. It's almost like, because it didn't look like this the other day. It was more spread out. It wasn't filling in like that, but now it's filling in this straight line, east and west. Tonopah is here. So this is actually in the remote area to the west of, or northwest of Tonopah. Look, that one just came in at 3.4. 3.1 at Hawthorne. This one's at Bodie, or Quails Camp, at 2.0. And see, there's nothing here at Mammoth. So this is taking the pressure off of Mammoth. There's nothing here in Northern California, except here at the geysers. It's taking a lot of the pressure off. Let's look at the geysers. Got 24 here today. That's an average number. Ones and under. Here's a 1.7 at Livermore, 1.0 Hollister, 1.2 San Juan Bautista. We've got a cluster going on at Parkfield. We've got 4 at Parkfield and 1 at Coloma. At 1.9 is the biggest at Parkfield. This is the San Andreas fault line. We're going down. Oops. See, it's spreading out. Here, 1.2 Bodfish, 1.8 Tehachapi. Here's a quarry blast. Boron. They don't take any days off. They're always blasting. 1.7 Costaic, 1.3 San Pedro. Here's a couple here near LA, Baldwin Hills, and so on. Here's a, oh, I just showed that. So let's see how many are here at Cyril's Valley. Ridgecrest, 46. That's about the same number as this morning. 2.1 Trona. So it's still rocking down here. Mainly in the ones range and under. 2.3 Independence. Here's a 2.0 Goldfield, 2.2 Tonopah, 2.2 Tonopah, 2.3 Tonopah, 3.4 Tonopah. So that's what's happening. It's still coming in. So I think we're going to be seeing some pretty dramatic changes in the landscape of the Earth now. We're going to start seeing some liquefaction, more liquefaction, and just the Earth going away because of all of the shaking and the movement. And we're going to start seeing land masses sink and rise, and I think it's going to be pretty dramatic as we move on into these end times. Speaking of the end times, I am continuing with my reading of the prophetic books of the Bible. And today we're reading Jeremiah chapter 38. It's got some pretty weird names in here, so if I mispronounce any, I apologize. I'll do the best I can. Then Shephatiah the son of Methane and Gedaliah the son of Pashur, and Jucal the son of Shelemiah, and Pashur the son of Malchiah, heard the words that Jeremiah had spoken unto all the people, saying, Thus saith the Lord, He that remaineth in this city shall die by the sword, by the famine, and by the pestilence, but he that goeth forth to the Chaldeans shall live, for he shall have his life for a prey, and shall live. Thus saith the Lord, This city shall surely be given into the hand of the king of Babylon's army, which shall take it. Therefore the princes said unto the king, We beseech thee, let this man be put to death, for thus he weakeneth the hands of the men of war that remain in this city, and the hands of all the people, in speaking such words unto them. For this man seeketh not the welfare of this people, but the hurt. Then Zedekiah the king said, Behold, he is in your hand, for the king is not he that can do anything against you. Then took they Jeremiah and cast him into the dungeon of Malchiah, the son of Hamelech, that was in the court of the prison, and they let down Jeremiah with cords. And in the dungeon there was no water, but mire. So Jeremiah sunk in the mire. Now when Ebed-melech the Ethiopian, one of the eunuchs which was in the king's house, heard that they had put Jeremiah in the dungeon, the king then sitting in the gate of Benjamin, Ebed-melech went forth out of the king's house and spake to the king, saying, My lord the king, these men have done evil in all that they have done to Jeremiah the prophet, whom they have cast into the dungeon, and he is like to die for hunger in the place where he is, for there is no more bread in the city. Then the king commanded Ebed-melech the Ethiopian, saying, Take from hence 30 men with thee, and take up Jeremiah the prophet out of the dungeon before he die. So Ebed-melech took the men with him, and went into the house of the king under the treasury, and took thence old cast-clouts and old rotten rags, and let them down by cords into the dungeon to Jeremiah. And Ebed-melech the Ethiopian said unto Jeremiah, Put now these old cast-clouts and rotten rags under thine armholes under the cords. And Jeremiah did so. So they drew up Jeremiah with cords, and took him out of the dungeon, and Jeremiah remained in the court of the prison. Then Zedekiah the king sent and took Jeremiah the prophet unto him into the third entry that is in the house of the Lord. And the king said unto Jeremiah, I will ask thee a thing, hide nothing from me. Then Jeremiah said unto Zedekiah, If I declare it unto thee, wilt thou not surely put me to death? And if I give thee counsel, wilt thou not hearken unto me? So Zedekiah the king sware secretly unto Jeremiah, saying, As the Lord liveth, that made us this soul, I will not put thee to death, neither will I give thee into the hand of these men that seek thy life. Then said Jeremiah unto Zedekiah, Thus saith the Lord, the God of hosts, the God of Israel, If thou wilt assuredly go forth unto the king of Babylon's princes, then thou soul shall live, and this city shall not be burned with fire, and thou shalt live in thine house. But if thou wilt not go forth to the king of Babylon's princes, then shall this city be given into the hand of the Chaldeans, and they shall burn it with fire, and thou shalt not escape out of their hand. And Zedekiah the king said unto Jeremiah, I am afraid of the Jews that are fallen to the Chaldeans, lest they deliver me into their hand, and they mock me. But Jeremiah said, they shall not deliver thee. Obey, I beseech thee, the voice of the Lord, which I speak unto thee. So it shall be well unto thee, and thy soul shall live. But if thou refuse to go forth, this is the word that the Lord hath shewed me. And behold, all the women that are left in the king of Judah's house shall be brought forth to the king of Babylon's princes, and those women shall say, Thy friends have set thee on, and have prevailed against thee. Thy feet are sunk in the mire, and they are turned away back. So they shall bring out all thy wives and thy children to the Chaldeans, and thou shalt not escape out of their hand, but shalt be taken by the hand of the king of Babylon, and thou shalt cause this city to be burned with fire. Then said Zedekiah unto Jeremiah, Let no man know of these words, and thou shalt not die. But if the princes hear that I have talked with thee, and they come unto thee, and say unto thee, Declare unto us now what thou hast said unto the king, hide it not from us, and we will not put thee to death, also what the king said unto thee. Then thou shalt say unto them, I presented my supplication before the king, that he would not cause me to return to Jonathan's house to die there. Then came all the princes unto Jeremiah, and asked him, and he told them according to all these words that the king had commanded. So they left off speaking with him, for the matter was not perceived. So Jeremiah abode in the court of the prison until the day that Jerusalem was taken, and he was there when Jerusalem was taken. Jeremiah chapter 38. A lot of drama there. So, this is the end of the show. It's gone kind of long, but we had a lot to cover today. So I do believe we're in the end times, and I do believe that these books of the Bible are speaking to us, and we need to take heed, and we need to listen and see how these words can apply to our lives directly. And I believe that we need to have a personal relationship with God and Jesus, and that's the only way out, is spiritually. There's no physical way out. And this is not our world. If we're believers in Christ, we know that our kingdom is elsewhere. And we look forward to going back to that kingdom. And we don't fear death. So, I'm praying for everybody. I'm praying for all the lost souls. So, until next time, God bless you, and go in peace, and I will talk to you soon. Goodbye.